Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Roaming Startup Show. I'm Professor Hans von Puppet. Today, Zach and Bob have a wonderful conversation with Ross Payton about his game Base Riders that he recently funded on Kickstarter. Stay tuned to hear about the time the zombie bit the shark.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the Roaming Startup Show again. We're really excited to welcome Ross Payton to the show. Ross is a game designer in the process of running a Kickstarting campaign with a role-playing game called Base Raiders. He's also known for being an artist and a podcaster. Welcome, Ross. Thanks for joining the show.
Hi, I'm Ross Payton with Role Playing Public Radio, and I'm a writer, and a podcaster. So, it's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining. If you don't mind, go ahead and start off by telling us what your Kickstarter campaign is and how things are going right now on it.
Base Raiders is subtitled the Superpowered Dungeon Crawling Role-Playing Game, and it's based on a single common trope in the superhero genre. That is the idea of the hidden base, the Bat Cave, the Fortress of Solitude, Doctor Doom's Castle, and so on and so forth. You have all these places, and it's a very common role-playing game to go in what they call a dungeon crawl, where you go in some place, deal with traps and monsters, and to get its treasures. So why not? So I've come up with the conceit that all the heroes, all the people who built the bases are gone, and so what people are doing around the world in this game are trying to find the bases and loot them to get the weapons, the technology, the superpower stuff, and that's the basic idea. Someone's described it as a mercenary version of the comic Planetary from Warren Ellis. So that's a great summation of it, which I thought of it. And so it's based on material I've had in the podcast. Aside from Role Playing Public Radio, I do one called RPPR Actual Play, where we do role-playing game sessions, and I record them and post them online. And we did a ongoing superhero campaign, and that is the one that became the foundation for Base Raiders. And it's going very well. We're at 7,600 and some change right now, and our initial goal was 6,000, so it's going to be funded. And now it's a matter of how many stretch goals we reach and how much material we'll actually get to release. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, congratulations on already hitting your goal. And you still have, 23 days left?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to have it in on the Sunday on November 24th. So,
how did you come in with a lot of prep work to make that happen? I mean, you really hit your goal quick, and now obviously, as you said, lots of stretch opportunities.
Yeah.
Did you have a community already built up, ready to go from your podcast?
Yes, that was actually the. I've done these Kickstarters before. I've actually done like 4 or 5 of them before. And they were all for much smaller amounts of money, and they were what they called use the ransom model, where if I get the amount of money, then I release a PDF of material I got from the podcast for free. So there was already the expectation of this kind of material, and I listened to the fan base, and they really liked the superhero game I was running on the Actual Play podcast. So that's what I did. I decided, well, I'll just write a book and publish it, and give it to the people who want it, and then see what kind of response it gets. So I've been doing the superhero campaign. It's called the Heroes of New Arcadia. We've posted 16 episodes already on the podcast, and there's another 10, 15 episodes left. I forgot how many exactly, and they are and the people have had a great response to it. So that was the initial buildup, and then for the Kickstarter itself, I started planning this out months in advance of writing it up and soliciting artwork from freelance artists in order to get it ready, and then editing the video, writing the script for the video, and sort of looking at what other Kickstarters in a similar Kickstarters in terms of the tabletop role-playing games were doing, and sort of like, oh, that idea worked. That guy got a lot of money, so I'll rip that that structure off. So, and to be honest, I was actually kind of ready to go in September. But the original artist I was going to get for the killer cover art pick sort of bailed on me, so I had to find a new artist, and that's why I was actually planning to have this already done by now, or at least the Kickstarter part of it. But that's, it wound up for the best because the replacement artist I found was better than the original guy. So, yeah,
Ross,
that's basically.
is this now turning into your daytime job, or is this something you're doing on the side? What do you do during the day?
Well, I mean, I'm a freelance writer and marketing and ebook and graphic design kind of thing. Like I'm writing, I just converted an ebook for Miskatonic River Press from their print to an ebook version, and I do a lot of freelance work like that. I do a lot of freelance work for Art Dream and a bunch of other people. So, and I do have a part-time graphic design, but it's taking up more and more of my life.
Yeah, it would seem like it.
So, and I definitely, with the amount of raising, this will basically be my full-time job until I release it. The book I'm planning to have done and out and in the hands of people by July, and I'm trying to get that even further. So, of course, a lot of that is not dependent on me. It's like how fast the artist can get their work into me and how fast I can get it proofread and edited and then printing and blah, blah, blah. So
this is going to be your project for the next almost year now?
that's the idea. I'm trying to. I'd like to beat. I set the expectations I thought were manageable. I'm going to try and exceed them so I can do. Like I already have the idea for like 3 more Kickstarters, like ones that are going to be supplements to base raiders, like secondary books, so
Sure.
people that like the original game can. And those will be at lower levels, obviously, since they won't be the main book. And then I have an idea for a horror role playing game that I've talked about on the podcast before that I want to develop, and that's going to be more. And that's something I'm looking forward to finishing or to trying and getting that out. So yeah, I'm trying to set it up so I can just build up a backlist using Kickstarter and that kind of thing.
So what's your next stretch goal? What are you looking to do?
The first stretch goal that we just reached at $7,000. Again, the original goal was 6,000. The first one was a conversion guide. I don't know how familiar you guys are with role playing games, but they're using different systems, and those are sets of rules that describe how the game mechanics work, how characters can do
Sure.
various things. And Base Raiders uses one called Fate, and that's sort of a new system that's free. Anyone can use the rules to write their own game and publish it commercially. That's one of the main reasons I'm using it. But there are other settings, or there are other rule sets that are more popular, especially for the superhero genre. And one of them is called Wild Talons, and that's one. In fact, the Heroes of New Arcadia, the inspiration for Base Raiders, was using that. So that was the first goal, and that's what we've reached. The next one is for another system called Mutants and Masterminds, and then after that, there's one called Savage Worlds. And so those first 3 are just going to be conversion guides. They'll just be available as free PDFs that anyone can download, and then they could use the Base Raiders as the setting, and then they can use the conversion guide to run it using their preferred system.
Whatever their house system is at that time, they could bring it into it.
And then what they can do after that, then I have additional content in the book. Like I will add new chapters, actual bases that will have, like there's a zombie factory where there's a stockpile of zombified clones of superheroes that are just waiting to break out. So it's not just a matter of looting the base to get rich or fulfill your character goals. It's also to keep these monsters from getting out. And so that's the other theme Base Raiders. Like, it's not just monetary and mercenary sort of action. It's also like, we need to go in there because they have all these doomsday weapons and monsters locked up, and nobody's left to guard them. So we need to go deal with that. And so there's 3 bases like that. And then the big one is at $21,000, and that is for a comic book that will be based on Base Raiders. It'll show a team of raiders going into a base, dealing with its inhabitants and its traps, and then overcoming that. And that's the big goal, and that'll be a full color comic that everyone will get, at least in ebook form, if we reach that. Every backer will. And so it's kind of hard to tell exactly how far Base Raiders is going to go, because we have some people that are, some days that are very good and some days that are very slow.
Right.
So it's a very it's a very unexpected sort of it's very variable, I guess you could say. So those are the immediate goals. I mean, you go to the page and it lists all of them, and yeah.
Now, you mentioned you'd had other Kickstarter campaigns before you got to this point. I guess my question I've got on that is, have they been successful? Have you had any trips? What's made the difference?
All of them have been successful, and I've been doing this sort of crowdfunding thing since even before Kickstarter was around. There was a site called fundable.org. I don't know if you've heard about.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was actually one of the last people to have a campaign on there. I was going to get my money because it kind of fell apart. I did a couple campaigns with them, and then I went on to Kickstarter, and the first ones were very much geared just towards the like my podcast fan base is very interesting for me to figure out, because there's this sort of vocal minority that's extremely dedicated, and they're very active, and they'll back whatever I do, and then there's the more casual, and then there's the people that are very on the fringes. And the first ones I did were very much focused towards the dedicated
Right.
podcast fans, because like offer bonuses like, oh, if you can kick into this, you can get to listen to 10 preview episodes months ahead of time. And there are people, I have listeners that will they will listen to a 6-hour episode. Like I will post 6-hour long MP3s of actual play sessions, and they will listen to it that night. Like they just go through it, like crack. I mean, it's it's amazing. I'm not complaining. I'm just it's hard balancing their needs with the more casual fan, because the casual fan will get overwhelmed and stop listening if I post too much too quickly, I think. So those were very much geared towards that and towards my existing fan base. And those I wasn't trying to produce anything physical, so I didn't have, my costs were very low. Like my writing was free, obviously, and then the art, I always paid artists for it, but I didn't, I didn't ask for copyright or anything, because it wasn't work for hire. It was just like, hey, I want to put this on the PDF, and then you can do whatever you want with the picture. So I don't care. It's just going to be a free thing. And so my costs were much lower than they would be otherwise. So with a physical book, you have to plan differently. You have to sort of cater to a larger market. And so that's sort of one of the major differences between it. It's sort of what your goals and your expectations are for running a successful Kickstarter campaign. And I've been studying this a lot and talking, and like there's a lot of I think tabletop role-playing games have sort of been one of the pioneers of this trend of crowdfunding, because there's the game designer Greg Stolze, who I know is the guy who came up with the idea of ransom models, and it was one of the first kind of crowd-funded things you saw. One of the things with a formal mechanism, not just a tip jar or an online, hey, right, send me money via PayPal, an organized campaign. So that's what I kind of think is essential, is doing a lot of research and getting to understanding what's possible, and also for me, having a podcast, having an active medium to promote your thing, your project. That's absolutely vital, because you can't just, it's not a free, I mean, the biggest misconception I think people have with Kickstarter is they think it's a free money machine. They hear these projects that 5,000% original, we get $8 million or $500,000, and they think that, oh, if I put this up, then I'll get that. But you're not going to do that, because people want something in return, and it's all based on how much they think you're going to actually live up to your end of the bargain. And you really need to have credibility, and you really need to work at promoting it. It's very much a marketing challenge. So,
do you see that credibility moving with you from project to project?
Yeah, well, definitely. Because again, I have a sort of reputation now through the podcast and also through my own work. Like my previous book was it's called Zombies of the World. It's won some book awards, and it's gotten very, very good reviews. And you can see previews of it online. And so when I say on the Kickstarter page, I'll write and lay the book out and and people can say, oh, okay, well, he actually can do that. And then again, they can also download the PDFs that I have from the ransom projects I've done, and they can say, oh, okay, well, he's done this. He can live up to this. He can do this. So that's definitely something that you do start building up. Now, there are people that do. It's a first project. You don't have to have like a lot of Kickstarters to work your way up. You could start with a big project, because that's what a lot of people do. But you have to have some sort of proof that you can live up to it. And I know that's one of the, I think, dilemmas of Kickstarters, the idea that there's someone who's just going to show up, have a slick presentation, and he's going to get, you know, a lot of money and then just disappear with it or under deliver
Right.
with promise. And that's, you know, I don't really see that as much. I think the successful ones are people that have, well, maybe one or two exceptions. I think most of the people that have had really incredible Kickstarter campaigns have had a lot of credibility. They have years of reputation as a writer or designer or whatever it is they're doing, and or they have an existing property, you know, like Wasteland 2, and the team is like, "Hey, I created this iconic role-playing video game, and now I want to do the sequel," and blah 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 blah. Like, okay, well, I can buy into that. So, yeah, I mean, you have to have some sort of credibility. You have to have some sort of proof that you can deliver, but it's not necessarily having a lot of Kickstarter campaigns. I think if you have some sort of, you definitely can't just be Johnny on the spot and just show up and like, I should get all this money.
What made you decide to do your podcast?
The what?
What made you decide to start up your podcast? I've been watching a lot of episodes and getting more into it, but what made you start it?
I guess I started back in 2007. And it was really just fun for me and my friend Tom Church, who was the co-host of the Role Playing Program.
Yeah.
2005, 2007, we'd been doing isolated audio, radio play kind of things and putting them online. And then we decided, we went to Gen Con for the first time, Tom and I, and like, holy shit, this is awesome. So let's do a regular podcast. Started doing that, and then 2008, when 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons comes around, we start posting the campaign we're doing of it, and that started telling people, oh my god, I love this campaign, and I love the players, and I love the banner. And so we're like, okay, we'll just keep doing this. And so it's just been sort of a steady incremental growth. And between that and my freelance writing with Arc Dream and a few other people, it's just kind of a slow build up. So that's, I mean, I just started for fun, just to do something I thought was something I could do and I wanted to do, and then that's pretty much it. It wasn't like, I mean, 2007, you know, Kickstarter wasn't really around. I don't even know if Fundable was around, and certainly I didn't think, someday, 5 years from millions of dollars from Kickstarter. So, yeah.
You know, I don't think I could do an interview with you, Ross, and not chat a little bit about Zombies of the World, which is next to my zombie survival guide in my go bag. So tell me a little bit about how you got that going and what kind of got you interested in that.
Well, I've always been interested in zombies. Even, you know, I've been scarred for life from Night of the Living Dead, the original film. That was the first movie I saw as a kid where the good guys didn't win. I didn't think that, you know, you could have a movie where all the good guys died, and like you're just like, you know, it just violates. And the idea of the zombie itself is just fascinating to me, and just, you know, all the ideas that can come from it. And Zombies of the World originally was going to be a web series. In fact, it's a web series. You can go to zombiesoftheworld.com, you click on web series, you can see all the videos. They were live action. And we did sort of like a fake Discovery Channel kind of thing. But I found out I'm a better writer and graphic designer than I am a video producer or director. It's just, and it's also a lot cheaper to write a book than it is to make a movie or even a web series, because you can just have one person or one or two people, you know, one person to write, one person to draw, one person to do the art. And you don't need, so it's just more practical. So I started writing a book based on the material for it. And I found this artist, Tom Rhodes, who had done these video game character redesigns that were amazing. And I just asked him, he was an art student at the time, and I said, hey, would you like to draw some zombies for my zombie project? He's like, all right, sure. And he drew the 20 species of that. And I think that really helped establish the book itself. I mean, without his art, I don't know where the book would be today. And he's now a concept artist, or an artist for BioWare. But it was his work and a few other artists' work, and it was just a labor of love for me. I saved up money for it, and, you know, paid for the printing, and yeah, it was just, yeah, I thought it would be fun to do, and I figured it would be, you know, that, I don't know, it was something I thought I could do and I could do well, and then I found out book distribution is really hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you do that as a publish on demand kind of thing through Amazon, or is that pre that concept?
I do well. I mean, I published it. It was printed last year, so but it's what they call with offset printing, and the idea is you print a lot of books at once, and then that way the discount is very cheap per book. And it was also, and if you notice, it's full color, glossy, high quality printing. But in order to have it printed in Singapore, because it's a lot cheaper to print that in Singapore. But on the downside, it takes like months for it to get over there because they actually have to ship it on a boat, and so it's this big convoluted thing. And so that's how it got printed. And I sold quite a few of them, but I still have quite a few books stacked up in my garage. So
Well, they make great stretch or incentives.
if you get at the deluxe level or higher, you get a copy of Zombies of the World too. It's an award-winning book, and of course it'll be autographed, and I'll throw in some additional material for it. I've got some promotional posters for it and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, that Zombies of the World was. I felt I had a great idea, and I wanted to bring it to life, and so I put my money where my mouth is, I guess. So
The art I've seen is amazing. Very well done.
yeah, I was fortunate to get the artist that I did. Not just Tom Rhodes, but there's Ian Moody and Violet Kirk. They actually helped on some of the RPPR projects, and a couple others. I can't. They did one or two other pictures, but those three were the main artists for it.
So working with somebody else on a Kickstarter, is Tom involved at all?
Tom's going to be helping. I'm still talking to him. He's actually, speaking of Zombies of the World, he's actually writing a story based in Zombies of the World because he is a big zombie fan as well. So I'm planning to do a line of fiction for it. I already written one short story for zombies called Zombies in Afghanistan, and that's sort of a short story set in the same era or the world of Zombies of the World. And Tom's writing on that. And then for Base Raiders, he is... it sort of depends on him because on how much he wants to write. I'd be happy to utilize his help, but he is working on something on his own, and I'm not exactly sure. He has a night job for his work, so he has. I don't know how much he'll be able to help. So I'm still talking to him. We're still figuring out. I don't know how much I need the book itself is going to be. I know that one of the stretch goals is actually. Caleb from Hebanon Games, Caleb Stokes from Hebanon Games, who is did a Kickstarter himself a few months ago, back in May, called No Security, and those were ransom model horror scenarios from the Great Depression, and one of the stretch goals for Base Raiders is going to be called Leviathan Prison, which is a super prison where basically Guantanamo, only under the ocean and for super criminals. And so it's like this black site that you can't get out of. But now the wardens are gone, so the players will need to go in there and deal with the prisoners. Do they let them go? Do they keep them there and become the new wardens, or do they just shoot them all, or try? Can you shoot them all?
Yeah. Can you even kill them?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a reason why they're in super prison. That's Caleb. I'm wanting to get his help on, and it just depends on where the actual Kickstarter lies. Kickstarter is also great because it sort of lets you gauge the market demand for a product. How much. If you get the people backing Kickstarters are sort of like the alpha fans. I think the people that tell all their friends, "Hey, I just found this new thing on the internet." Blah 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 blah. The casual RPG player isn't going to go out of his way to find out about new Kickstarter games, and if you get X number of Kickstarter fans, then you can probably sell Y number of, or X times 5 or X times 10 copies to distributors. So they sell them in game stores. So someone just browsing around the store, oh, this looks good, So I think this will help me determine how much I need to write, how much the fan base embraces it, or the community, the tabletop role playing game community. So yeah. Anyways, I can ramble on for.
Well, I really like the idea of bringing in multiple folks working on the same project. That seems really cool.
Yeah, no, collaborative projects is something I really enjoy doing, especially collaborators, the right people to help you. Tom Rhodes was great to work with. He actually wasn't a zombie fan, so I had to explain to him a lot of the sort of in jokes that are in there, like in the Italian zombie species. There's a big shark bite out of the zombie because that's referencing a movie called Zombie by an Italian director named Fulci, where he in the late '70s he actually had a guy in a zombie costume wrestle a shark underwater, and you can just type in, you can just go to YouTube and type zombie fight shark, and you can find that scene. And so like it's an infamous scene, kind of ridiculous, you know. Late '70s zombie Italian horror films with zombies in them were pretty silly for the most part, anyway. And so that was a whole reference to that. So I'd explain to him kind of the history of the zombie genre as I was working with him, and he had a lot of great ideas on his own too, because I gave him the space to sort of do that. And with Caleb, I mean, I know his work on Leviathan is you can actually listen to an early version of it on the podcast, and he did a great version of it. It's a very intriguing place. So I'm looking forward to that, and I just want to see what kind of other response I get. So before I start, you kind of have to limit the number of collaborators you can get because you can only pay so many, and they deserve to get paid. So it's a balancing act too. So
Every show that we do, we have a subtitle, and I think we may have just found it: Zombie Fights Shark. Perfect.
I can't argue with that.
No, that's pretty good. Well, I know that you can get the Zombies of the World on Amazon. I'll link that up in the show notes so people can get out there and find it. And I'll also link up to your Kickstarter campaign. You have obviously lots of time left, so we hope people will continue to back that for you.
Yeah. If you have questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them on the Kickstarter page. I monitor that every day. So if you want to know more about the setting of Base Raiders, or about the book itself, or anything else, I'd be happy to answer them. And you can go to the podcast, the website, and you can see what kind of especially the actual play. You see a lot of comments from fans discussing each individual episode. And I'm really excited about it, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So,
Ross, for our viewers, if they wanted to keep track of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, I try and monitor a few things. I have a Twitter account, and so if you send a tweet to @RossPayton, I should be able to see it. And RPPR is aside from the Kickstarter page, RPPR is the best place to go. There's our Role Playing Public Radio Facebook page and group. There's also the forums on there. I think I have my email address or the RPPR email address is on the website for RPPR. So those are the best places to get the Role Playing Public Radio. So
great. Well, thanks a lot for spending some time with us this evening. Again, congratulations on the project. It's going really well. I'm one of your backers. I'm looking forward to messing around with it. And I know Zach also backed this one. So real pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great. I love talking about it.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Well, thank you for joining us, boys and girls. What a wonderful conversation with Ross. Tune in next week as we learn more about how to fund your dreams with crowdfunding. Till then, remember to keep dreaming and don't get tied down with any strings.